Hello, this is Arunava Chaudhuri, and you are on my YouTube channel, Arunfoot. The big story of Friday, July the 25th was that a certain Xavi Hernandez had applied for the Indian football men's national team head coach's role, and that he was turned down by the AIFF because most likely he would demand too much money. Wow. Xavi Hernandez, Spain and Barcelona legend, one of the best midfielders ever to grace this planet. But the whole story turned out to be a complete hoax. Someone, whoever it was, seems to have sent an email to the AIFF pretending to be Xavi Hernandez, sending the CV of Xavi Hernandez without actually leaving behind any contact details, just a CV with no financial demands. And this whole thing points for me once more to the whole problem that we are facing in Indian football and social media and even in the media. A reputed journalist like Marcus Megalow put out a story quoting National Team Department head Subrata Pal, saying, hey, yeah, someone, a Xavi, has applied for the job. Marcus put out a tweet, put out a story in the Times of India, and that set off a social media frenzy on the Friday hype, meltdown, accusations, blaming him. Why was it not possible to get the money together to sign Xavi? But I go back a few steps. Marcus is a seasoned journalist, an experienced journalist. Couldn't he, if he checked with someone, maybe an ex-FC Goa employee with Barcelona links, and checked, hey, did Xavi actually apply? Because when I first heard it, read it, saw it, I thought, at this stage of his career, Xavi Hernandez applying for the India job, linked to the story that he once said a while ago, I don't know where, I don't remember, that yes, he does follow the Indian Super League because, yeah, some of his ex-friends, teammates, colleagues had played or were playing in the league or were engaged in the league. That's a nice thing to hear. But that's the first failure. I say as someone who studied journalism, that's the first failure. Then comes the whole meltdown of people who are European football fans in India who think, this would have revolutionized Indian football. These people don't understand, don't seem to know that Xavi Hernandez's salaries in the last couple of jobs were close to the overall budget of the All India Football Federation of around 120 crores. Qatar offered him a job which was worth more than the AIFF budget. So even saying that if AIFF tried to raise money for Xavi Hernandez, no chance at this moment in time. And then I have to be honest enough to say, you know what? Look at the current stage in which Indian football finds itself in. The AIFF itself, a mess. The Supreme Court involved in the Constitution case. The ISL has been stopped. The national team in shambles. The quality of players we have. Do we think realistically that a Xavi Hernandez could have come in and would have revolutionized Indian football in, 2-3 months? So, as you listen to me, as you try to process the whole story in your brain, it should become clearer and clearer that it was from the onset unrealistic that a Xavi Hernandez could have and would have applied for the India job. I would have loved to have seen Xavi Hernandez coach India one day. But at this moment in time, in which, as I just explained, in the phase that we are in, it would be a waste of his talent, of his knowledge, and he would also not be the right candidate for the job. We need someone to immediately make an impact. I know from a PR perspective, from a media perspective, from a social media perspective, bringing in a high-profile coach, yeah, makes sense. But we go back to the basics of cross-checking what is true, what is not true. The buck stops with Marcus. But even someone like a Fabrizio Romano jumped on the bandwagon. Because we are always talking about breaking news, here we go, and whatever. And today proved, cross-checking things is the basic of journalism. And to those who had a meltdown, those who created a lot of stories, yeah, we need to talk about the AIFF HR and how they would have scrutinized the CVs. But is the person at HR in the AIFF actually capable of scrutinizing coaching CVs? Or are they rather capable of scrutinizing job CVs within the federation, be it finance, operations, administration? Let's cool down again. Xavi Hernandez is not becoming India coach anytime soon. I even cross-checked with certain people in and around FC Barcelona. And yeah, we have much bigger problems to look at in Indian football. And let's focus on those. This was a hoax, and whoever did it gave us a nice summer story, a day to dream for certain people. And a lot of people, even in the mainstream media, were suddenly talking about this. And we were talking about it in my live on Friday night, that this has gotten more eyeballs than the fact that the Indian women's team have qualified for the AFC Women's Asian Cup 2026 in Australia next year. This is how the media landscape, this is how social media works these days. But yeah, if you want honest, truthful information, come to my platform, Arunfoot. I'll try to give it to you, as I always try and do. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree with me? You've got something else to add? Write those things down below. And as always, like, share, and subscribe Arunfoot here on YouTube. Visit my other social medias. Visit arunfoot.com. And I'm back very, very soon. It's Chaudhuri signing off. Bye.